And there we just had the national anthem by Christopher and a new president of the United States.
At your seats while the president and official party depart the platform.
And this is now where President Biden is escorted by the new president of the United States. And President Biden will depart, along with some members of his family, to California and Santa Ynez for a vacation out there with his family. The president's inaugural address, he promised a golden age in which he said a revolution of common sense, in which he promised a bunch of new changes. And I think later today at Capital One Arena, if not in the next hour or so, we will see him sign what has been described as a blizzard of executive orders and actions on everything from the border to energy to also government efficiency and issues about gender and more.
Yeah, in the spirit of getting right to it in his second term, the president kind of skipped the inaugural address and jumped right to the State of the Union, listing the promises and plans, which were ambitious, disruptive, and every inch what he was elected by his supporters, his core supporters, to do. But like a State of the Union, you know, the proof will be in the pudding, the proof will be in the doing. We also have the experience of the first administration and the infrastructure bill, which was much discussed and never came. As a tonal matter, we've been talking a lot about this day, which has a kind of special grace that hovers over it. Political grudges are paused. Donald Trump benefited from that grace in the ceremony, but as is often the case, he did not feel obliged to extend the same grace or ceremony. He talked at some length about the horrible betrayal of the president who was sitting right over his shoulder. And so the question is, as we've seen before, does he enjoy the benefits of the office, but not the obligations? And I should note one other thing. He took an oath today. He's the only person ever to take the presidential oath who has been accused by the leaders of his party in the House, the Senate, and his own vice president of actively working to overthrow an election and therefore break with that oath. What
does that mean?
Well, you make an oath to the Constitution, and the Constitution says there will be a free and peaceful transfer of power. In working to overthrow the election, he sought to thwart the peaceful transfer of power and undo the $81 million votes. Mitch McConnell, the leader in the Senate, Kevin McCarthy, the leader in the House, and his vice president all said he broke with that oath. Well, he's taken the oath again. Same promise has been made again. No one in American history.
McCarthy said it too at the time. I think that's why so many people struggle. I think you always hear from the country they want to be united. You know, he goes to the Biden White House. They have a bunch of crab cakes and ribeye steak and Thumbelina carrots. And then he comes out and insults Joe Biden while he's sitting there. He did the same thing with the Barack Obama.
This is the lunches that are coming up, not the lunch that's coming up. You're going to have that, yeah.
No, but I'm talking about, I'm just going through the course of the day, the tea that they had, which turned out to be a lunch. You keep hearing people say, I would like the country to be united. And, you know, when you talk to people, he starts right away saying the golden age of America begins now. I did like that he acknowledged that it was Martin Luther King Day, and that under his leadership, Martin Luther King's dream is going to come true. Well, I'm curious about which dream exactly he's talking about, because he proceeded to say America's decline is over. We're going to reclaim the public. He was saved by God to make America great again. Listen, the American people spoke. He won. He won the electoral vote. He won all the swing states. Everybody understands that. But now we're at the point where I think people are saying, how are you going to unite us? And if I'm sitting there as someone who, and I'm sitting there as a Democrat, or if you didn't vote for Trump, where do I fit into this conversation? I think many people are wondering that. People at this point, guys, I believe, just really want to be united. We know that he won. Everyone, I think, has accepted that Donald Trump won this race fair and square.
A jubilant moment for the Trump family as their father is returned to office. I want to bring in historian Douglas Brinkley. Douglas?
Yeah, well, I think it was really the speech about the golden age of the past America, and now he's saying it's today. He had all the tropes of American exceptionalism thrown into the hopper there, pushing the concept of manifest destiny and the settling of West, that God had ordained it, claiming that we're going to grab, and I think this is a newsbreaker, he is saying we're going to take back the Panama Canal. That William McKinley funded it, Theodore Roosevelt built it, and it's ours, and China's controlling it. And right straight on through, American MAGA is American exceptionalism on steroids. But look how we've changed as a society. I mean, of the days of Me Too movement and Black Lives Matter, climate activism, it's just gone. And there's a void that President Biden's left that no Democrat right now is able to fill. Nancy Pelosi not being there, Michelle Obama, AOC not there. You're feeling there's a little bit of a void, but the speech was, I think, better than his first in the sense that the tone of it hung together well, and it is just, though, not really a unifying speech, but it masqueraded as one.
Donald Trump is now the president of the United States, and President Biden is set to leave from the east front of the Capitol shortly. And Robert Costa, because we're going to be spending so much of the next 4 years talking about Donald Trump, perhaps a moment to talk about how Joe Biden sees these final moments and his legacy.
Nora, I was with President Biden in the White House residence in August, and he takes pride in his record, what he has done to navigate Russia's war with Ukraine, massive spending on domestic policy, and he believes he has been a protector of democracy in his view of how the American system should work. But when we turn to President Trump, this was a speech of action. As the president told me over the weekend, just watch what I'm going to do. Stay calm. Washington should stay calm, he said, but just watch. On the horizon now is an overhaul of the tax code. Republican majorities, albeit paper thin in the House and in the Senate, pursuing a major package on the border along with tax reform, a total upending of many agencies and departments across the federal government, and a scaling back of the size of the federal government. You see the Trump family there. But this was a speech of action, and he explicitly detailed what he is going to do. And for people who haven't been paying attention to the campaign or to the transition, this was Trump underscoring, I mean business. Policy changes are coming, and they will be sweeping.
And just want to note that Hillary Clinton there and President Bill Clinton there are shaking every member of the Trump's family, despite the things that they have said about her. And I think it was, I'm told by people close to the Clintons, it was very important for them to not only show up, but to show the sort of graciousness that normally accompanies former presidents, and to make sure that they publicly support this peaceful